event leader, members of the high table, all the three high tables, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, one country,
One people.
one people,
One country.
I want to start by thanking you, thanking the YG, thanking the chairman and the region for inviting me to speak here. I do not take it lightly. I think it's a real honor and privilege for me as not just as a city minister to come and engage with people of the past and with Sierra Leone. I was trying to find out who would be in the room, and I learned that there are people who are in the room who are not SLP. And that's a good thing. That we can be in a space today where there are people who will choose to come to interact with us because of our progressiveness. We should not take that for granted or lightly. Today I will speak about three things. The first thing I want to speak about is that transformation is hard. It's really hard, but it is possible.
Yes.
The second thing I would like to have you remember is that transformation requires your action. And I mean you in particular. Each one of us can play a role and should play a role in national transformation. And the final thing is that transformation requires leadership. And it is that leadership that President Leo has given to us, and that President Leo will continue to give to us, that will enhance that national transformation in Sierra Leone. So I like to often share stories to reflect what I mean. So transformation is hard. Just yesterday, about 160,000 kids sat to the NPSC.
Wow. Yeah.
We didn't hear any bad stories. And we may take it for granted, but that is what transformation is. For us to have 160-something thousand kids take their exam in over 500 centers, that means in every chiefdom in Sierra Leone, there is an NPSC center. For that to happen, there are some of the things that needed to have occurred, and I'm not even there, when all of this is happening. My team would have gone and done a candidate verification. All the candidates would have verified them. And all the schools, all the principals, head teachers would have submitted those names. We did go to verify every center. My team went to every one of those centers to make sure that children can take exams in those centers and that there were furniture available for them to take exams. We needed to have transported sensitive materials, not the question papers, but the answer sheets and the pencils and all of that, over a week ago in each one of those centers and kept them securely. On examination day like today, there was transportation, public transportation, school buses available to take all of those students. Often, kids show up who did not register for NPSC. We allow that because we don't want anybody to drop out. We were able to resolve those issues before they became any problem. It required coordination at national level, at district level, at chiefdom level, at center level, for all of those papers to be collected and brought back to Freetown, no problems. That is what transformation is. But all the work that goes in there, we don't see it. But if you hear one simple mistake somewhere, and that becomes the news, and that becomes what is loud.
That's right.
One example, actually, and some of you know that I participate online, has to do with this WASP exam. WASP exam is going to happen starting Monday. There are going to be 250,000 candidates in Sierra Leone taking WASP exam. A couple years ago, there were only 35,000. For us to be able to accommodate for those 250,000, we needed all of them to have registered via portal to make sure that there is no malpractice and that there is reduced malpractice, limited. Each one of those schools needed to have submitted their data via an online system. And yet, there are about a dozen school leaders, mostly private schools, who did not submit. And so there are about 7,000 out of the 250,000 who will not get to take the exam. And what do people say? Oh, government, I not do this. Oh, not government, they affect this, this, and this. That's 3%, less than 3% of those candidates who are eligible have this challenge. And the reason why they had a challenge is because when we said you have to use the online system, if you need help, come and ask us. If you need help, go to WIAD. And we need to do this, mind you, because once we submit the candidate list, we send them to Nigeria to print, where we printed. They print for the whole of West Africa, not just for Sierra Leone. And we need to know for all the candidates in West Africa, all the papers that are printed. Once they finish printing, they destroy the original file so that it does not leak. Now, do you think a government like ours that spends most of our money on education will want our children to not take an exam? So when the people who want to spread misinformation then go online and say, this government here, they say they care about free education for 7,000 people to take exams. What I would like citizens to understand, back to the second point about what you can do, what we can do for transformation, is to ask questions. So why make them 7,000 and they don't register? Why is it only about a dozen schools out of hundreds of schools? Why is it only now that they're talking about it? Why couldn't the government, did they engage the government? And I'll tell you something. Some of those principals will never say it in front of me or my staff. Because then self knows it. They know what they do. Or what they not do. Is the right way of putting it. Then no say, what they can with office that big they can for big. And yet, they will go and write all kinds of things and try to project on our government, now you want to listen. What would we prefer? That we have an examination system that is not credible so that these people can go and register afterwards, or one time in which the exam question paper has been destroyed, so occasionally come on. Which one do we want?
Credible.
Mainly occasional come on. We want credibility. It is sad that those students will not, because today I learned that some of those principals are still going and giving false hope to those children, which is worse. It is important that those principals and proprietors take responsibility and own it and have a conversation with those parents and those children so they understand what happened. And for me, and in my own leadership style of transformation, is that over-communicate. And it's important that we communicate because we know that transformation is hard. I'll give another example of something that we've been able to do that comes from communication. As you know, President Bill travels to all these rural areas. Somebody had said SLPP, and this government is one of inclusion. That is how SLPP was founded. SLPP was founded based on radical inclusion. SLPP was founded by organizations that cared about bringing development to our people in the protectorate and bringing education to those communities. So yes, you're right, SLPP is the party of inclusion. And President Bill goes to all of these chiefdoms, all of these districts. The other day, we drove for 5 hours to Bundapi, where the road ended. President Bill went into a boat for another 2.5 hours to go to a place where, prior to that, only 2 ministers had ever been there. One of them was me. Until President Bill went there as president and brought all these other ministers there. In those instances, when President Bill goes to all of these chiefdoms and he gives people, the chiefs or the young people, an opportunity to speak, 3-4 years ago, everybody always said, President Bill will begin to take exams and all they will check their results. And it costs 100,000, some 10 a day, you come out like Palaba. You have to take transport, you can't Kabalaton. You go online, you check. And if internet's not there, that is crash carry by the go buff fee. So in that instance, you will have lost several hours, lost money, and you still will not be able to know your child's results. All over the country, that's what people said. And President Bill turned to me and said, can't you do something about this? That's when we went and DSTI and NBSSE, we created an application that was immediately used more than 2 million times, such that in Sierra Leone today, the minute results come out, all man are going to be able to check the results. And when people talk about transformation for Sierra Leone and why Sierra Leone is such an important player in the world, and as you heard the chairman say earlier, President Bill is one of the global champions for transforming education. It is not by guess, not a story and story for real. And not so because we are perfect. We know all the challenges that we have because we track it. It is because we are doing things that even America can't do. One of them is we speak about school safety. We speak about making sure that our children know how to learn and can learn safely. Just last week, before Parliament closed, Parliament passed a new education bill, a new education act, the Basic Education Act. That act is so forward-looking that even before I came, I met people on the plane coming from Sweden, coming from America to go and study how we managed to do this Sierra Leone. One of those things there is on corporal punishment, and some of you will have watched the debate in Parliament. We ban corporal punishment in this bill. You know which country that has not banned corporal punishment? America. There are at least 13 to 15 states where corporal punishment is legal. In America, not to other side. And the things that we are doing to make sure our schools are safer, the things that we are doing to make sure that pre-primary education is the right. In America, ECD pre-primary education, not the right to. So, these things that make President Bill a global champion, not a story and a story for me. It is indeed because what he has done for transforming education is amongst the best in the world.
Yes, sir.
And this is the part where I come to the second point, that we need you. We need you here, we need Sierra Leoneans, we need everybody. But when I say we need you, for the slightly older folks in the room, allow me to talk to the YG. We need young people in leadership. There are many things that young people can do, or because we're young, that allows us to do those things that are important, and we should not use our youthful energy and time sitting behind the desk in America when we could use it in Sierra Leone.
Say, so come on.
And we understand the reason why we may at some points of our lives, and everybody's situation is different. But I'll tell you one example. Last week I was at TED in Vancouver. I arrived the next day, 6 a.m., took my car, drove to Bo, 3 hours, spoke to about 2,000 students at Jala about their role in transforming education, left that, went to Sheshamon and spoke to about 50 kids with disability, where I went to tell them about the new education bill that now recognizes autism spectrum and unseen learning. Oh, wow. And I moved from there. I went and I met 350 prefects from all of Bo, went to CKC, went to Amadea, went into my car, went back to Freetown. That's because I own. There are certain things young people can just do that my father is not going to do because I don't do that thing. And for the effectiveness of the things that we want, we need young people who have the energy to come back and meet leadership. And I'll share something about transformation and why we need people who are also innovative and are not trying to follow stereotypes and convention. So I left Jala, I came to Sheshamon and I'm excited because I brought some good news. President Bill had asked, we bought uniforms for all of the kids with special needs, gave them all shoes, gave them all of these tablets and all these gadgets, kinds of things, and I'm feeling good about myself. And I was going through the list of schools, and I read the first one that was called Schools of Blind. Nothing there, we just gave them what we needed to give them. The second school that I was giving was Miltimagai Sheshamon. Okay, great kids, had a fantastic time. And I looked at the name for the third school, and I looked at my DD. Are you sure this is the name of the school? Yes, it is that. I'm having a hard time to say the name of the school. And the name of the school is the School for the Mentally Retarded.
No.
And I turned around and I said, okay, from this moment we change the name of the school. By me, the power of me as minister, we change the name of the school. And I sent a note to my team from there to say all schools that may have that name or called deaf and dumb will change their name with immediate effect. And I mention those things because sometimes it may seem that we can't do stuff, we can't change. But often it's just because we're afraid to change. Often we feel like we don't want to take a decision, so we send it to somebody else, and send it to somebody else. BS minister, don't get that power, no, president. You don't get that power, even the president, you don't give me the authority. But I would be afraid to make a decision. But it's not just about me. It's at every level through the system. If you're a treasurer, you don't want to make a decision, you say, I'm a secretary, will make that decision, with secretary, I'm a president, will make that decision, and it's that we keep punting responsibility as opposed to leading. Now, I'm not trying to say it's easy, because it is not. Because the most difficult parts for me where they go like, only cost me my mind. There's no day where they go down online and somebody cost me a power. I'm just happy that my mother does not read my social media. Because if she was reading my social media, she says, more in I'm testing the politics. I just politics so you do everything that costs me the whole day. It is very difficult for young people and for people who have integrity, for people who want to pursue justice, to do politics in the public sector. It is very difficult because some random person we if it's not before you post, you don't get my talk to you said.
No.
Now I go talk to you left and right Facebook, like saying that you know, it's those people exist. And as young people, we have families, we get picking away they be online, and they go online and you question whether it's worth it sometimes. But I want to assure you that in spite of all of those challenges, there is absolutely nothing more rewarding than being of service to our country. And one example of that reward, really before I speak about the authorizing environment, came about with radical inclusion, and you just heard about the book, and it's linked to why we need a great authorizing environment and why President Bill is such an amazing leader. So on the 19th of August 2019, I went to the Well of Parliament to be approved as minister, to be interviewed. And you had all of these MPs who came to me and said, Minister, you don't get experience. No, I was a minister at the time. Dr. Sengeh, you don't get the experience. You don't have the experience to lead. You've never been into politics. What are you going to do? Dr. Sengeh, you're not going to be able to handle the teachers. You've never, do you know the teachers union? Can you handle the teachers union? I think you're going to fail. Dr. Sengeh, I think you should just stay in innovation. I don't think you're good enough. And so, now be facing the tell me so. That's what I president tell me. And I think I remember saying this. In one of the answers to the parliamentarians, I said, look, I'm not here to keep my job. I was appointed by His Excellency. I'm here to do my job. And I will do my job.
Yes, sir.
So I got approved in Parliament. And I'm not denying no. And they approved me. And on the 20th, I went to State House. I was dressed nicely, slightly different from how I usually dress. And I sat in the front row and I went in front of President Bill, I signed the oath of office, and I was really happy. This was amazing. I was in cloud nine. We take photos, and then I leave State House and I go to the ministry. And I meet my staff, greet them, you know. They're probably wondering which one is today. And then I left early because I had to go to Leone. I was late for an event that President Leone was here. Same day, around 2 p.m. now. So I go into the back of Leone on the top right, and I sit in among the students. And they don't know me, obviously, and I probably just blended in right with them. And President Bill comes to speak, and he saw me. He saw me, matched each other's eyes. And I'm listening to him, and he's saying all these wonderful things. School education, girls' education, all these things that made me love him. And then he puts his hand on his speech because he wants to go off script, and I know his mannerisms a little bit. And he looks up in the audience, sees me, and then he says, you know, some people say pregnant girls should go to school. I say no. I say pregnant girls should not go to school let them finish having the baby, and then they can come back to school. And the whole room starts clapping. And I'm sitting there confused. I'm like, I just signed to be minister a couple hours ago. And now I'm going to be the one who's going to be enforcing this. That's not what I said. Like I knew this band was there, but I assumed we were going to change it. Looks at me, and then he continues his speech. And these kids sitting next to me are clapping and gliding and saying, yes, madam, you talk fine. And I considered, I went from being very happy at 9 o'clock to being very sad at 2 p.m. Because I couldn't imagine that I would go home to my own 2 daughters and tell them that that's what I'm doing. But I joined the convoy, I go to his house, I go lunch. Same thing. He's sitting down, I'm sitting to his right. I'm not at the eat, but I know gladly. No man did it's choppy, I don't eat Salone. And after when we finished eating, and I've not said anything. And I turned to him and I said, Excellency, did you mean what he said? And he was 2 other people who were at the lunch. And then they said, yeah, yes, the president was right. The president said what the president said. The president does not talk much. So he's more so that I talk to him. And I ignored them. And I turned back to President Video. I said, Excellency, do you mean what you said? And he said, well, I met a lot of pregnant girls before, but they didn't want to go to school. I've never met a pregnant girl who wants to go to school. But if you find one who wants to go to school and talk to them, I'm willing to listen. So that was the hope that he gave me. For the rest of the story, read the book, buy the book. But one of the most important parts, and I'll spoil that small part for you in the book, was he ultimately understood that because of everything he'd done for gender and the emergency on rape and the girls' activities that he was doing, and the free-quality school education, he understood that the right thing for us to do was for us to allow pregnant girls to go to school. There is no leader. It's very hard for a leader, a president, to go online publicly and say this, and then sit back, reflect, take in data, take in information, and change his mind. That kind of leadership you don't have around the world. And where in the cabinet conversation in chapter 5 is not ascribed to anybody, and I did take permission from the cabinet secretariat to write about it. And in that debate, there was somebody who said, we shouldn't change this because President Liu had publicly said pregnant girls should not go to school. So it might look like the president's weak. And the president said, no, I'll speak for myself. You speak for yourself, I'll speak for myself. Which brings me to the point about authorizing the environment. A lot of people like to say, it's Sengeh, all this stuff with innovation, all this stuff with radical inclusion, all this stuff with technology. It's you or your team. And when I say this, people don't believe. But there's no idea, no the way I don't count it by reason we know President you ask that question. And I know they say this because I don't get reason for lying or for the idea with the paramount chiefs getting tablets, which now has transformed how we do service delivery. On the first day that I became Chief Innovation Officer at launch, President Liu turned to me and said, I think the paramount chiefs need a device. You should build a system for them. It took me 3.5 years to do it. But when I did it, it was the best thing we had done for initial service delivery. There is all the transformational ideas that I've had were either because he asked me, he said it, or most importantly, he created the authorizing environment where I could do something and not be afraid that if I do this, the boss they can't vex say, why did you want? The kinds of transformation that we have seen in education in Sierra Leone, and I'll go through that because we just know and we have the data. And back then, when I became minister, first I used to struggle about before I became minister, as student innovation officer, I used to struggle about something about innovation, and I came back. So we do have a lot of thinking over lunch, and I went to him and I was like, and he said, yeah, you're reading that radio. What you need to do is you need to explain what data means. You assume people know what data is. You assume people know what innovation is. You need to explain it better. And I went and I did that again. And today, in President Bill, anytime, you don't cheat the 2 minutes for talk. Before someone student say, Your Excellency, I want to tell you something for the innovation. It is crazy to see how much of a vision that he has, and to be able to allow me to do that. Oh look, in COVID, when every country reduced money from education, President Leone increased money for education because he understood that the way we respond to crises like that is by investing in people. Today, we built well over 1,000 classrooms. We achieved gender parity within 3 years, the shortest any country has been able to do. In Sierra Leone, there's a girl who studies STEM. You have 17 years free education, no other place where that is. We've been able to recruit well over 12,000 teachers. Before we did not recruit no teacher. We assessed well over 6,000 teachers. Trained well over 22,000 teachers. You know they talk about AI and ChatGPT. Sierra Leone. Now the only country where get AI ChatGPT, what teacher they use now, some community over 1,000 teachers. The kinds of things that we have done, our children will thank us in several years from now. And the one thing I want to leave you is FQSC. FQSC is not a political game. It can be a political game. Money, for example, money they probably wrote there. With our lease budget, instead President Bill ensures that 22% of our budget goes into education, such that we can have well over 400,000 kids take transition exams for free, such that buses can be available to all of these children. Kids with disabilities expanded by 1,500% in schools. If you just look at the numbers, at every indicator, and I'll end with this. Whether it's government, whether it's independent, whether it's UN, any indicator in education, we're better today than we were yesterday. And the most exciting part is on each one of those indicators, based on what we're doing now, we are going to be better tomorrow than where we are today. It is that that gives me hope. It is that that makes me commit and know that President Leo is the best person.
Yes, sir. You can say that again.
So I want to thank you for the demonstrable support that you have as a region, evidence to the even YG, not even YG, I get for Kumodi or YG, separate to support President Bio's re-election. And it is because when President Bio is successful, as President Bio remains successful, it is our children's children who will thank us for it. Thank you very much.
Everyone stand up, please, give him a round of applause. Yes.